Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of It's Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. I'm your host, Roland Kerson. I'm kind of shooting on a late night on a Thursday night. I ain't gonna hold everybody. I'm just talking a few minutes about something that's been going on out there, and I want to give my a little bit of get on my soapbox, give my 2 cents about it. So um, everything's been going on social media. Everybody been talking about Minnesota Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards and the woman that he had a baby with, and that he pretty much told her he didn't want to have the baby. She still had the baby, and that he gave and she had to pay child support. So, this young lady now, and make no mistakes, what I'm about to talk about does not make Anthony Edwards seem like the golden boy, the golden child, that he's right, but this is just looking at the idea from both sides. So Anthony Edwards had a baby with this young lady, or he was sleeping with this young lady, and this young lady wound up getting pregnant, and he told her he didn't want to have the baby, that he had other kids, and he didn't want to be involved or be a father to this child. So, now these women, these Instagram models or models, whatever you want to call them, they set out to have babies by these NBA players for a payday. So Mr. Edwards uh, got the girl pregnant, which he shouldn't have been dipping his stick in everything unprotected to get someone pregnant, to not want to have to deal with that. So um, that is his fault part. That's his 50% part of doing something wrong. So he gave the young lady $100,000 to have an abortion. Now, however you may feel about the abortion is, your own prerogative. We're not gonna get on that and talk about that, about what's right and what's wrong about abortion. And I do agree that every woman should have the right to choose. But on that same standpoint, if a woman has the right to choose and can abort a baby that a man may want, um, why isn't it that a man can't have a right to choose to not be in that child's life, or not want to have nothing to do with that baby, and still have to be penalized through child support? So Anthony gave this young woman $100,000 to have an abortion. Now, to everybody's knowledge that knows, it does not cost $100,000 to have an abortion. But I digress on that part. He paid her what he paid her to get that done. So the young lady told him she did, but wound up did not getting the abortion, and now it went after him for child support. So Anthony Edwards was like, well, I told you to get an abortion. I gave you more than enough to get it done. I'm not paying you child support. So based on the way these child support laws work in this country, that even if that's your standpoint and you as a man told her, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with this baby. I don't want to be, if I don't want to pay child support, I don't want to be in this baby life. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. So she has a right to decide to keep it or not. That is up to her. But he paid her to get rid of the baby, and she did not. So since she did not, and she went after him for child support, Anthony Edwards was like, well, whatever. I'm going to pay you 18 years of child support up front, which came out to a little bit over $1 million that he paid out, and that he agreed to pay out through the courts to pay for this child support, so he don't never have to deal with her. He signed over his parental rights, and now she's upset. So let's break that down. Why is she upset? Because she thought she could squeeze him for more than $1 million. But when that man clearly told you he didn't want the baby, he didn't want to be in the baby's life, he wants no part of the baby. So if you're going to get child support, fine, fair enough. This is whatever was ordered, about $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year for 18 years. then came out to 1.1, a little bit over $1 million. We'll just say $1.1 million if you want to be technical about the exact amount. So over the last couple of weeks on social media, a lot of women have been upset. It was like, well, he shouldn't have laid down and made the baby with her if he didn't want to pay child support or be a part of the baby's life. And that part is definitely correct. But there's two adults involved in that situation. She laid down and have the baby. He laid down and have the baby. They lay down and have sex together, and the baby got produced. So knowing that, once he made it clear to her that he wanted her to have an abortion, not saying that she had to, but the whole point of this situation is that they agreed to it. And he agreed to give her a large lump sum of money to have it. And she agreed to it. And being slick about it, she didn't do it. She took the $100,000, did whatever she wanted to do with it, and didn't get rid of the baby. Now, again, it is her choice. But once you cross that threshold of y'all both come to an agreement and he pays you and you decide to keep it, okay. Well, either you going to keep it and take some of that money and just get on with your day, but don't go after him for child support. And like I said, it doesn't expunge him of any wrongdoing for laying down and having unprotected sex with a woman that he knew that he wasn't going to be with, or wasn't ready to accept the possibility that he could have a baby with her. But like I said, it takes two to make a baby. So once both parties agreed that we're not going to keep the baby, that should have been the end of it. But people are dogging him, saying that that's what he gets, and he's wrong for making her get rid of the baby. Well, he's not wrong if they both came to a mutual agreement. He's not wrong if he paid her an absorbent amount of money to abort that child, and she did. Now, again, because of the child support laws in this country, she was still able to file for child support after they had a mutual agreement not to have the baby. So, okay, he was like, well, if that's what you're going to do, fair enough. Now, everybody will say he's wrong because Anthony Edwards, if I'm not believe, his last contract with the Timberwolves was well over $200 million. And they're like, well, $1 million to him is a drop in the bucket. Well, I mean, that may be so, but again, you got two people that came to an agreement that we're not going to have this baby. But like I said, she was still able to go to the court and try to pursue child support on him. So he just did what he thought was best for him. He set an amount. If I'm not correct, the court agreed to that. $5,000 a month, 18 years. Comes out to, I think it's $1.80,000. So like I said, you could easily round that up to 1.1 million plus the 100,000 that he already gave her. So pretty much she got $1.2 million out of it. So if she can't, survive and raise a baby and work off of getting a lump sum of $1.2 million plus having a job for herself, then she maybe need to reevaluate her life choices, as well as, now, not saying he didn't need to reevaluate his life choices by having a baby with a woman that he didn't really want to be with. That's not right on his behalf as well. He was just as in the wrong as she was. But this whole point comes down to, is this going to be a new trend of men, especially men with the financial means? Is that something that the court should accept? That, hey, I'm going to pay this money up front. I don't want nothing to do with this child. She can't, and we need to agree that she can't come after me for more. She can't squeeze it for more if I never, if I pay all it up front, she can't come after more. And is that something that the court should agree to? And is that something that's a new trend, especially with these professional athletes and actors and people who have large amounts of financial means to take care of themselves as well as children? Now, if I'm not correct, I do believe he has other children. but he just didn't necessarily want to be a part of this one particular one that he had with her, which is his right. But as men having a baby out of wedlock, our rights are very much minuscule, and I'm speaking from that on personal experience. Um, the child support courts and laws are definitely designed to hurt the father and help the mother. And most people will say, well, the man shouldn't have laid down and have a baby, which is agreed. Again, I agree with that. But if the mother cannot financially take care of the child, why does it mean that I got to fund her lifestyle? Um, let's be honest, some of these women get absorbent amounts of money and child support from these athletes. There's no baby on the face of this planet. Another player had to pay $200,000 a month. There's no what baby spends $200,000 a month. So there's child support, and then there's just overdoing it. And I think once you start crossing the threshold of, well, it's based off his income, okay, well, if it's supposed to be 50-50, then if I gotta be paid $5,000 a month, then she has to prove where she's spending $5,000 a month on the needs of the baby. And no, that doesn't include what she consider as extracurricular activities or these absorbent amount of daycares and Louis Vuitton baby bags and $3,000 strollers, to which the baby don't care one way or the other what kind of stroller they're in. So if I gotta pay $5,000 a month because I got money, then she need to prove where she's spending $5,000 a month of her own money. And then, so basically we could say that is a 50-50 deal, and we're both combining because our baby needs $10,000 worth of support. And people say, well, that money can go towards the house that she living in or the car that she drives to take the baby back and forth. Let's be real. $10,000 a month. There's people who out here who work every day, 40 hours a week, 80 hours every 2 weeks, and don't make $120,000 a year. So therefore, and they have no children, so therefore there's no baby that needs $120,000 a year straight cash, unless you're doing too much extra. So, like I said, in me dealing with child support from my own personal experience, it's designed to railroad the father. Because if you can give this woman this money and then she doesn't have to work, and she bears the benefits of Section 8 housing, WIC, food stamps, while the father could necessarily, may not be struggling, but has to deal, she gets all the benefits, and he still has to pay part of the care. So, but going back to him, like, is it fair that he should have had to pay $1.1 million when he didn't want to have the baby in the first place? Should he have to pay $1.1 million if they both agreed, and there's proof that they agreed for her to take this $100,000 and have an abortion? Should she be able to go to court and file a child support order? Again, this ain't about, we all know that he has the means. This is about that two people came to a mutual agreement, and that he didn't want to take care of the baby. He didn't want to be part of the baby's life. So she should have respected that, took the money that he did give her to have an abortion. And if she chose not to, then it should be on her. Now, like I said, I'm not saying he's not right for his part in this by having a baby out of wedlock, or having a baby with the woman that he knew he wouldn't want to be with. But I mean, it happens. He's not the only man that have to deal with that. But the absorbent amount of money that he has paid her, that should be looked into, and these child support laws should definitely be overhauled, because $50,000 a month, $200,000 a month, And they get to say, well, he's maintaining the baby's lifestyle. Let's be honest, people. A baby doesn't need $200,000 a month. A baby doesn't need $50,000 a month. Yes, there are expenses with having kids, health care, child care, and things of that nature. But if you're getting, $5 to $6, $7,000 a month for him, most of the time that's 70, 60 to 70 grand a year. Most people survive great well off $60 to $70,000 a year. So what? You can't buy yourself a Maybach. So what? You can't make your Range Rover payments. Find a way to supplement that income on your own for those extra things that you need or those expensive things that you need. This man should not have to pay $1.1 million. And like I said, once they come to an agreement that they weren't going to have the baby, he paid her to not have the baby. Why is he responsible for child support? Women can abort a baby without the father's permission, and he can't really fight that battle because it's her body, it's her right, and women's right. And not saying that those aren't legitimate rights for women. We should definitely honor what a woman does with her body. So I want to be very, very clear on that. I definitely agree that a woman has every right to do that if that's what she chooses. But if there was an agreement and she changes her mind, that's where the waters can get muddy. Why does she have the right to come back later on, especially if they agreed? Now, let's say maybe the best thing to do is if we agreed, get a signed, notarized document that we agreed and that this was going to happen. And if you change your mind, we may agree to a set amount to help you out, or we agreed to me not do anything. But in these type of situations, and a lot of these professional athletes are falling into these traps more frequently, I kind of like what he did. He was like, if I'm going to have to give you this money, I'm going to go petition the court to have a set amount, and I'm going to pay it all at once, and there can't be no increases, and you can't ask me for anything else. I think that's but fair, because she decided to have the baby. I think that's but fair because he still, after paying her $100,000, he still stepped up and gave her more than what's needed to raise a child. We all know, we all are parents at our age. We all have parents, and at no point in time did our parents raise us on $1.1 million. And if our parents during the time raised us had $1.1 million, maybe some of us would have different things and different lifestyles. So, I want everybody's feedback, good, bad, and indifferent. Weigh in, men and women. Don't think I'm just siding with him saying he's right. I'm not saying that. I'm just looking at it from both sides because both sides are equally culpable in this situation. But it's just he chose to handle it a different way that most people can't handle it. Most regular guys can't give $1.1 million and be like, my hands are off. But is that something that's should be looked at across the board in these cases? Now, if he wants to be a father and be a role in any man that wants to be in that child's life, then maybe change it up a little bit. But is that something the court should really start to look at when men and women come to an agreement about not having a baby and then the woman changed their mind? Should we have to cover those costs because we had an agreement? And does these new agreements that we have, do we need to make sure they're signed by both parties, legal and notarized and presented to the courts, and should the courts have to honor those documents if that is happened, because you do see fathers to get railroaded when they find out sometimes they're paying child support and find out that through paternity or DNA test that the child's not theirs, and they're still ordered to pay child support just because they were believe that the child was there and they signed the birth certificate. There's a lot of states that still uphold that. I think that if you choose to do that because you done been around that baby, you done develop a bond, fine. But the minute if you find out biologically a child not yours, you should be able to legally step away without any repercussions or without being court order obligated to continue that up. So, and some of these women are chasing after these professional athletes just to have babies to get a bag. Like I said, and again, the athletes themselves go through training. When they're drafted, they go through draft workout camps, and I think they're called I can't think of the name for it, but they do go through these workshops when they're drafted in the NFL, in the NBA, baseball. They go through workshops about these type of situations. Now, if they still get into these situations, that's on them and their stupidity. But if you have been through that workshop and you get into this situation and you and this female agree to how to handle the situation, and she agrees, well, okay, that's fine. She should not be able to change her mind, as not as far as keeping the baby, but as far as whether you're going to be financially responsible. Because if we decide that I don't want it, we decided that we don't want it, and then, down the line, you be like, well, I changed my mind. I want to keep this baby for myself. Fine, that's fair enough. That is your right. But you should not be able to come after me for money. Like I said again, I'm going to say it again and again. He does have his part in this where he should have known better. But we're talking about once a mutual agreement has come, why should I have to give you $1.2 million because you decided to change your mind, or you lied and didn't do something that we agreed you would do? Again, guys, I want you to respond back. Feedback in the comments is Cheaper Than Therapy show. You can email me at cheaperthantherapy@gmail.com or text me at 803-543-5233. Give me your feedback, men and women, all my subscribers. Like, comment, share under this post. This is one I'm not taking sides, believe me, because he messed up and he had to pay for it. Unfortunately, he has the means to pay for it, but a lot of men in his situation don't. So he messed up. But there are a lot of women out here that are trapping men into these situations. So I want you guys to give me your feedback, comment, email, text. I'm going to post this on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. Share, like, comment. I want you guys to know that I'm back at it, taking time, coming up with these topics, I said I wasn't going to do a lot of sports stuff, but I am, going to mix it up this year. Sports, real talk, entertainment stuff. I'm going to try a different little platform. So again, like, subscribe, share. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, the ones that do. I'm going to keep coming at with you topics. I'm going to try to keep growing. Again, take care of each other, yourselves, and the people that you love and care about. You guys have a wonderful evening.